Man, these days you really never know what someone has going on within their life. The invisible battles they might be fighting. And as luck might have it, sometimes you're just the first person that they encounter that they can take all of their emotions out without feeling any remorse. And it doesn't mean you did something wrong. Definitely doesn't. And it does not give you permission to match their energy. You know, summer's almost here. It is heating up outside, especially here in California, right? Not everybody has the luxury or comfort of being able to afford AC, air conditioning, right? Oh. You know, summer's starting, school's almost over, people are looking for jobs and not having any luck. It's almost the end of the month. Bills are due, right? There's chaos brewing all over the world, and the only thing that can stay consistent in life is kindness. So I really encourage you to just take a breath every time you're dealing with someone that's unpleasant. Maybe just try to remember that they have a whole world of emotions and things that you don't know about that could be bothering them, and maybe that the way they're treating you isn't their intention, but sometimes they can't help it, you know. Alright, man. Today I think I feel like doing some money. I know personally, I've always chosen to kind of give people the benefit of the doubt that I'm not having a bad day, I'm not having a bad life, right? Maybe there's just extenuating circumstances going on in someone else's behavior, right? One moment of a quick interaction of dealing with an unpleasant cashier at the grocery store, or you know, maybe somebody cuts you off in traffic and gets angry at you about it, right? Maybe they're just having a bad day, man, and those are the easiest moments for them to justify their behavior. And also in those moments, it's super cool to kind of, you know, be the bigger person and just, you know, really kill them with kindness. You know, I remember working as like a waiter, a server in a restaurant during college. Pretty much primarily living off of, you know, tips, being a college student, right? And man, yeah. Expensive restaurant, people get upset, people intentionally come in and, for lack of a better term, throw fits and complain about anything and everything just to get a free meal, right? And I'm the kind of person that's like, okay, like if you want, if just ask, right? Don't you know, I'm just doing my job, right? I just work here. You know, you don't need to do all of this just to get a free meal. If you want it, just ask. And, you know, like, honestly, that's the way I've always been. You know, just honest, right? But during those times, right, where I'm like, okay, like, I did survive off of tips, but it wasn't my sole purpose. I was like, you know, it's cool giving people a nice night, you know, being a part of it, celebrating anniversaries or going on dates or birthdays or whatever, right? In a nice dining establishment, you know, it's cool. It's cool. So just as long as you honestly had just nice people to have a conversation with, they were happy with their food and their service, and that's all really I needed, you know, and the tip was just the cherry on top, right? But my favorite thing to do was every time you get that difficult, group of people coming in to eat, and just like really choosing to just bend over backwards and kill them with kindness and being like, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your patience and owning up to any mistakes, even if they weren't yours. That's a big thing, dude. Sometimes I would joke with them. I'm like, yeah, like, I'm not back there cooking your guys' food. I'm just, like, I'm out here, like, I'm physically not responsible for, the food, right? But some people don't really realize that, and it's kind of baffling, right? But being lighthearted about it, in general, trying not to take everything to heart, really helps. I think it makes you a little bit, gives you a little bit thicker skin, honestly. And again, just try not to take everything so personally. It's a challenge, right? But yeah, I always try to remind myself, like when I'm out, like putting fuel in my car and someone cuts in front of me, right? Maybe they're in a big rush and it feels like the world is ending around them, and that's why they did it. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Fight them about it? Yell at them? Curse at them? Get out of my car, right? What good is that going to do? Really, Just smile and wave, and at the end of the day, like, I'm happy to help them out, if they really need it, right? I remember talking to a friend, and he was talking to me, and he's like, yeah, dude, somebody came in and stole my tips last week. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, if they decided that they needed it more than you and that justified their actions for doing it, at the end of the day, it's a few bucks. It sucks, right? But, what comes around goes around, and karma will serve you right. It's always not fun, and it's always super frustrating in the moment, but at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, man, like, at the end of the day, like, you have a job, you're employed, you have a roof over your head, and maybe whoever stole your tips doesn't. Maybe that's the way they got their one hot meal for the month, and it sucks. And I'm definitely not trying to like support and encourage bad behavior or defend anyone that makes poor decisions and choices, right? But again, I'm just trying to be like, take a step back and be like, hey, like, I don't know what's going on in somebody else's life, but thinking this way when this happens to me, right, makes me feel better and be like, you know what, it's okay. Right, it is what it is. I remember always getting picked on as a little kid. I think that's where like a good chunk of my anxiety stemmed from, was being terrified of going to school and getting, bullied or made fun of or beat up, right? And I think the biggest thing was you never really know what's going on in, like, especially in like a kid's life at home when you're at school, I remember one of the kids that was picking on me, we ended up being friends through middle school and stuff, but for a couple of years, man, I did not like this kid. He was just terrible to me, and it's crazy how we did end up becoming, part of the same friend group and being friends, and hanging out and stuff, and it was fine. There was no bad blood whatsoever at all. But I remember, I didn't know this until, like, later, I was older, maybe even high school. But I think his dad was an alcoholic and wouldn't, he had a couple brothers. He wouldn't, hurt them or anything, but that's not fun to come home to. And so he kind of took that out on, on me and, all the other things, right? So I was like, dang, like, as a kid, like, having a parent figure like that sucks. He had an older brother that was in college that made poor decisions. Maybe that didn't help him, right? And as a kid, like, how do you process all that stuff, There's another kid that also kind of same thing. His parents ended up getting a divorce, and he would have outbursts at school, and unfortunately never really learned to cope with it. And man, like, that's the part about like being a parent, having a kid, and then having like those things happen to you that just destroy like a whole kid's world, you know. He never learned to deal with those outbursts, and he, I think, flunked out of high school because of it. He got so into drugs and poor decisions and just the wrong crowd, all because of that one decision his parents made, and he couldn't learn to live with it, and his parents couldn't help him live with it, right? And, you know, hope he's doing well out there. Haven't really thought about him once ever. I think I ran into him at, like, a gas station, like, way outside of town. You know, like, I was, like, on a road trip, and this is not, like, you know, a place you only really go past this place when you're kind of leaving town. And he was there working, and I'm like, well, good to see you, man. You know, haven't thought about him, but just now, I guess I just thought about him. But, you know, it's things like that. Right, you never know. Honestly, every time my phone rings, my heart stops for a second, because I'm never one. I don't like talking on the phone. I despise it. It's just, it gives me anxiety. I don't like it. You know, I'm much more of a texter, you know, or let's meet up in person and chat if you got to talk to me, you know. But every time my phone rings, if it's work, when I'm on call, I'm expecting it, and it is what it is. But when it's someone from work and I'm not expecting a phone call, I'm always, like, prepared for the worst bad news. And at the time it is, you know. Something happened, something came up, and that's part of life. Or if it's a friend. You know, I had a friend butt dial me the other day, and I was like, hey, what's up? And I don't hear anything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And they're like, what are you doing talking to me? I'm like, I don't know, you called me? And they're like, oh, sorry. You know? But I'm like, dude, like, I don't know. It just stresses me out, and I'm always like, something happened. Or like when I'll be at work and I get a call from like my girlfriend or my brother or my mom or something, and I'm like, dude, what's going on? What happened? What do you need right now? Do I need to leave work right now? And they're like, no, I didn't know you worked today. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm at work. Or they're like, oh, I thought you got off. I'm like, nope, working late today. Stuff like that, you know. That's usually how it goes, but nah, still just stresses me out. Hopefully I'm not the only one out there. I came down here trying to find some iron and just take a break from building, but I feel like I haven't made any progress in the world lately, and I'm just trying to break the chain, you know? But no, honestly, at the end of the day, it's so easy to be like, you know what, I have this, and going on, and it's easy for me to be in a bad mood and take it out on other people, right? Makes me feel better, you know. It's just like like I said, it's the easiest, you know. Suppressing your emotions and choosing, you know, treat everyone kindness. It's hard. It's a choice. It can be draining depending on how you feel, right? But at the end of the day, if we all just chose to, you know, as people, as humans, just always chose to let our emotions win and always be the bad guy, right? That's not going to make that's not going to make the world a better place. That's not going to make your life easier. It's not going to make someone else's life easier, right? Let's see, what are we feeling for a screenshot? I haven't done one in a while. Probably a sunrise. We'll have to wait. I know these videos have been pretty unproductive lately, and I'm sorry. I've been feeling just not drained. I know my daily uploads have come to an end. I'm trying to get back in it. I think it's just really with my work schedule and life right now. I've made other recordings super late at night, at like 2 a.m. or whatever, and I'm like, yep, I got 20 minutes to just chill. Honestly, some days it just feels like I don't have 20 minutes, which is okay, and that totally sounds contradicting to other thoughts and ideas and videos I've made and stuff, and it's just been really hard. May is probably the busiest month of the year for me at work, and so I've been really locking in, trying to, you know, survive and get through the month. Like I said, I had unexpected weekend out of town, and there went my 2 days of dedicated for sure recording. Right, just trying to have a bit of a social life. Do I take my 20 minutes of free time and come sit down and make a recording, or do I go swing by that friend's birthday party? Do I go meet up with that friend I haven't seen in a while for lunch? You know, I see them twice a year. Should I go meet up with them? Do I take 20 minutes and go exercise and go on a 2-3 mile run? Right, that's kind of where my mind has been at, you know. And do I take 20 minutes and just go read? And you know, there's plenty of things that I've been filling my free time with, and sometimes I regret it. Sometimes I wish it was a silly little video game and I can talk about things, and sometimes like, this is the best 20 minutes, like when I'm on my run. It's kind of like this, you know. It is a form of meditation when I'm, you know, getting back into running and stuff, and I'm just like, everything is right in the world, you know. I don't have to worry about work. I don't have to worry about deadlines. I don't have to worry about strategies, and I don't have to worry about meetings, and, you know, I don't have to worry about this hard conversation that I'm not looking forward to. Just takes my mind off things, you know, and I think that's really cool. I think doing these videos has definitely helped me figure that out. You know, for a while, like the last 70 days, you know, since February, I was like, I didn't have anything that kind of did take my mind off of work and life and stress and stuff, and now I'm finding other ways, and that's really cool. But I'm still here. I'm still trying to do my best to show up for you guys. And just the heartfelt messages that I'm always left in my comment section, you know. A lot of them being like, hey, sorry, I've missed out on a few days. And I'm like, dude, you're all good. It's so cool that people like watching these things and, you know, hearing about what's going on in my mundane life, you know, what silly shenanigans I've been up to. Alright, but I just try to remind myself, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, like, if you have a bad interaction with someone at, like, an establishment, any form of business, and they are an employee, right, dude, at the end of the day, man, they're just doing their job. They're trying to pay bills. They're trying to put food on the table, you know. 9 out of 10 times, they did not choose their job. They did not choose to work there, right? So just give them a break, you know. We've all worked jobs where we're like, you know what, this is just a paycheck. Or, hey, I don't make the rules. I'm just trying to follow what I'm told. And a lot of people don't understand that. But when you take a second and think about that perspective, right, at the end, we're all after the same goal at the end of the day. I've been thinking, dude, I would love to do like a Greek or like ancient Roman build. I think this Japanese style I've been building has been really beautiful and calming and stuff, but it's hard. It's hard, and I'm not wanting to give up because it's hard, but I'm like running out of ideas, you know. Once I finish this nether portal, I think it might be cool to branch out, try something else. I think a server to play on with other people would be so sick. I almost applied to one, but I think I missed a deadline, and I was like, my work schedule, my life schedule, I was like, I don't want to let others down because of how busy I am. And um, not that I struggle with commitment, but I was like, I really don't want to commit to something that I am uncertain of being able to, fulfill my end of the deal. So, hey, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you've been well, and I look forward to seeing you another day. So, thank you.